The last number of years have been very challenging for a lot of us. We've had not just a lot of things happening overall in life, but there's been a lot of division that has come from people talking about the whole COVID thing and about these jabby jab things. Gotta be careful what you say nowadays because everything's being monitored, and I want to get this information through. So what's happened as a part of that, and I know a lot of you have experienced this, it's a very challenging and painful thing to happen, and it's still ongoing. The division of friends and family, people who we've really cared about, that we've had big fallings out with, and it's a very challenging thing. Probably one of the most challenging things in life, to lose a sense of support from people you thought that, well, you never thought these things would happen. You never thought they would turn against you, and it's happened in many different ways, and quite horrifically, actually. Very hurtful, very hard time to deal with these things. Jesus spoke about this actually even his day. Very interesting thing that he said in Matthew 10:34 to 10:36. He says, initially he goes on about he didn't come to bring peace, but a sword. He then goes on to say, to turn father against son and mother against daughter. And then he finishes that off on Matthew 10:36, saying that basically our foes or enemies will be in the home. That's a very, very big thing to realize, that actually has a lot of truth to it. But what's he really talking about when he talks about not coming to bring peace but a sword? That sword is a sword of truth. And anybody who knows that the more you delve into truth, the more you share truth, well, the harder life can actually get sometimes, because people aren't ready for it. People don't want the truth. People say all the time they want the truth, but they do not want the truth, and they certainly do not want the truth about themselves. And that can happen with us as well. We've got to be very honest with ourselves about this. Just, we're not perfect, and there's some things about us sometimes that we need to confront. The thing is, though, how do we then reconcile this aspect with falling out with family and friends? It's a very challenging one, and you need to work this out for yourself. I'm only going to share some thoughts here for you to think about, and hopefully bring you a sense of comfort, or a different perspective at least, to look at these things. One of the issues is that we're so conditioned in life, in so many aspects of life, not just this one aspect to do with family, many areas, but we are very conditioned with family too. We hear things such as blood is thicker than water, or I've even heard people dismissing things, oh, but it's family. And I say, so what? It doesn't matter how you are connected to somebody. It matters how they treat you, okay? Now, you can have a difference of opinion. It doesn't mean you had a different opinion, you can't still be on good terms with your family, but that's not been the case for a lot of people, and friends as well. And this is where we're going to work out where establish some boundaries, and look at how people are treating us. And it's okay to walk away from family and friends who are not treating us with respect. And that's a big one, respect. That should always be there. It's the glue of a relationship, the glue of any communicative relationship, friendship, family. So this idea, just because you're related by blood, it doesn't hold weight. Jesus spoke about this. He spoke about this, okay? You may even remember, I don't remember which verse this was, but when he was in the temple, I think, teaching, and I think it was one of the disciples, I think, from memory, came in and said, Jesus, your family are outside. Your mother and your sisters. I think it was something along those lines. And he said that this is not verbatim. I'm doing my best to remember along these lines. That he's saying that he's basically his mother, his brother, his sisters, and that are those who do the will of God. Okay, with inside. So we're talking about those who are seeking to release the ego, to live in this higher aspect of mind, to live in a Christ mind, And that's what he's getting at. These are the family. And I absolutely agree with that. I'm very strong on that. It doesn't mean you can't still have relationships with family and friends if there's still an aspect of respect there and it's still working. But the truth of a lot of it is that just because we're born of blood, it doesn't mean that that's really our true sense of family. And it really comes from, we want to talk about this in terms of mind and frequencies and energy and things like that, which is true, that sometimes we just don't gel with people, okay? Doesn't matter if they're family or close friends of however long. It happens. There's a mismatch, okay? And especially when the respect's gone. We don't always have to be on the same page, and some people don't necessarily want to talk about spiritual things and that, and you can still be friends with them. There are different levels, but the respect is the big part. So what I'm sharing with you today is it's okay. It's okay and to not feel guilty about it. Say, look, I really don't like the way these people are treating me. And let go of the conditioning, making you stay in these uncomfortable and at times very toxic relationships. And this will happen too the more that you seek within, the more you spend time just focusing your attention. You can either in the third eye here or in the pineal gland, which is what I generally recommend. If you can get your attention into mainly centered in the pineal gland, that's even better. It's even better. But here's great as well. Don't get me wrong. This is fine. The more we spend time in that, the more we do heal. And this is even an expression you may have heard before, divine healing. Sometimes we need divine healing, okay? And it happens naturally. But the more we spend time, not trying to force anything, sometimes we don't even know what we need. And sometimes, as we heal, we release a lot of trapped emotions that we didn't even know were there. Just things come out. You don't understand it. And this is a really wonderful thing, actually. There's a lot of things that Jesus talks about even with this. When he says you can't put, or you don't put new wine in old wineskins. And we look at that symbolically with ourselves. We need to be renewed within. We do. We need to be completely renewed, the whole thing. And that often requires a destruction of the old self. And that's necessary to come into a higher sense of mind, or a greater sense of joy within ourselves. And a part of that deconditioning, a lot of it, we're just got to let go of all the garbage, all the things in our lives that are telling us this is who we are, what we are, is how we should think, and that. It's amazing how much is not really our own, actually. People telling us who we are, that's a big one, especially when you change. A lot of people try and pull you back. I've noticed this in many ways, that when you want to start to improve yourself, there'll be people coming in the woodwork trying to pull you back in, and they'll do it in different ways. Let's say you give up drinking or smoking or weed or whatever it is. Some people aren't going to be happy for you. They're not going to say it outwardly, but they're going to put in little just things there to try to pull you back in. And one way or another, they might say, "Oh, you can just do it occasionally." Well, forget all that stuff. You've got to watch those people. Honestly, you've got to watch that. So this message today is really just sharing with you that it's actually quite a normal process to happen, that family things can break down and do break down. And it's okay for you to walk away if you feel you need to do that. It's okay. Again, there's a lot of spiritual teaching about that, particularly from the teachings of Jesus. I love his teachings. They're awesome. I talk about them because I just think they're awesome. There are other ones too. I just find them in a very, for me, they really resonate quite a lot. So wherever you are right now, with your friends and family, if it is, as I'm saying, has been very, very unpleasant for you, and it's okay to consider the options of just walking away from those situations. It's okay. Don't get caught up in the conditioning. People saying, "Oh, but it's family." Do not make excuses for people's crappy behaviour. There's no need for it, and especially with family, if they're truly supposed to be all that loving, that they shouldn't treat you that way. Absolutely not. Okay, it's just not right. And you will find in time, look, the more you embrace a spiritual path, it can be quite lonely at times. And that is sometimes necessary. It doesn't feel good, doesn't feel pleasant, it's not easy. But it's going to be for your own betterment. And really, this is why it's such an important aspect, that the more chaos in life that happens around us, particularly when we're embracing the spiritual aspects of life, it does happen. That's why we've got to remember where we need to go to ground ourselves and spend time just moving all our attention away from everything outside and come back inside. And this is essentially what meditation really means, is to become one-pointed or focused. So the more we focus on just putting our attention inside and just trying to keep our attention in, the third eye or on the pineal gland, anywhere along there, actually, it's good. I mean, I won't get too much into it, but I've even got some practices I'll show you, maybe another video, to help you to find where to focus. Anyway, but generally speaking, if you're just generally looking here or trying to keep your attention there, it's going to benefit you. Now, you don't really need to do much more than that. Try not to get involved. I mean, you'll get a lot of thoughts coming, and your mind will be pulled back and forth wherever you're going. That's pretty normal. That happens. The more we practice meditation, the more control we get of that, the less that happens. But also, it's not just that. It's also how we spend our days. It's a holistic approach. It's not just about meditating. We need to be aware of a lot of things in our day. So if we're listening to a lot of just constantly listening to things, it doesn't really matter if it's necessarily good content or not so good content. We need to allow some time of silence to allow the aspect of our higher mind to leak in, to come through and guide us, to have the opportunity to do that. But I've said in my previous video, if we're crowding up our mind all the time with garbage, well, and not always garbage, I mean, there's just noise. Just noise. It doesn't always have to be garbage. It's not allowing us that peace and to come to us, because we're not allowing any space for it. In the Old Testament, it was in one of the Psalms, I believe it was, there's a great line that says, "The peace that passes all understanding." And it's very true. Anyone who's really delved into this would have experienced this. And it's true. I remember many years ago, I've had some shocking experiences, really bad. And have really thrown me quite a lot. But I centered myself back inside, just in the storm of everything, not trying to do anything else, but just sit there and keep quiet. Not quite like that truck or that thing that went past. And the peace comes. The peace does come. And the more you spend there, just sitting there in silence, not expecting anything, just sit there. And the more you sit there, the better. No music or anything, just you. Try to find a silent place the best you can. If you haven't got a silent place, well, maybe you could put on some headphones, perhaps, and just maybe put on something just very, very subtle or just very soft music or something like that. That's not going to distract you too much, because you really just want to sit with yourself. And the thing is too, the more we don't have too much stimulus coming in to our minds daily, by visually and auditory wise, the more we're going to cultivate this sense of peace within. And we've got to understand that our biology, how our body works, that we're not designed to be constantly in a state of stimuli. It's too much, and it will drive people not sometimes manic or depressed and anxious, panicky, all sorts of things. So really minimizing that through the days the best we can. Now, I know that's not as easy as it sounds, because when we do sit in sometimes a silence and sit with ourselves, things come up. And it's not pleasant often. And it makes people feel uncomfortable. But it's a necessary part of working through this and for your own betterment, ultimately, for your betterment, to find a sense of peace. Because when it comes, the more you embrace this aspect and keep doing these things, and you don't have to necessarily do it. If you feel a little uncomfortable, even just being by yourself for a short period of time. Maybe start with 5 minutes, 5 minutes, and then to sort of see how you go. But also, if you're someone who's constantly bombarding yourself because you're not coping well with life, with things, at least maybe look at the types of things you're listening to. Now, I know some people, for instance, will say they really like heavy metal, death metal. Look, I like that when I was a teenager, okay? I get it. But I understand the energy of that. It's got an energy, it's got a frequency about it. It's not great. Now, you might say, oh, it makes you feel good. It makes you feel good because you're on that frequency of mind. And that's not really a great place to be. Think about it this way. If you go and get a massage somewhere, and it's nice and relaxing, nice and peaceful, what sort of music they have on? It's all this really lovely, beautiful, tranquil music. They don't have death metal on. Why? Quite clearly, the frequency of it's just horrendous, okay? And we look at it from a frequency point of view, whether you like attract like, well, do you want to attract that into your life, more of that energy? It has a lot about it. It's not just about, oh, it sounds good and that. I'll tell you this much, the more you do change and look to coming to a higher aspect of your mind, these things don't resonate with you anymore. It's disgusting now. It's just like, I don't want that. I don't want it near me. The opposite happens too. People are really in the dark and you try and bring in some light. They go, oh, that's terrible. What terrible, cheesy, crappy stuff. Get that out of here. Same thing happens, but we can change it. That's the whole point. We can change it by the choices we make. And I generally look at things two ways. We always have two choices at any moment. We have the better choice and the less better choice, or the crap choice, or the terrible choice in anything. If you go to, for instance, just get some food when you're out, you go to a food court, okay, there's going to be a lot of different things around. You're going to say, oh, there's more than one choice. Yes, there are, but overall, you got takeaway, crappy junk food stuff, or you got something that's more healthy. Two choices. Okay, you go to KFC or McDonald's, or whatever the other crap places are, or you go to salad bar. Now, maybe the salad bar might not be the greatest salad with all its dressings, but it's going to be a lot better than deep fried, chemical processed crap. Okay, which affects your mind. Okay, it affects your body, it affects your mind. We are a psychophysical unit. Well, technically, we're actually a psychophysical spiritual unit, our bodies. But if we look at that, and you may have heard this expression, which is very true, the body affects the mind, and the mind affects the body. So we really need to cultivate this. That's what I was saying before. It's a holistic approach. It's not in isolation to everything else. You can't just do one thing, and then everything else is going to be great. You're working against yourself. Again, another great biblical thing. It has different meanings in some ways, but a house divided against itself cannot stand. We are the house, and if we divide, and we can do this in many ways. There's so many ways we can divide against ourselves. And again, I'll just give you an example. If you're meditating but then eating lots of crap food, listening to death metal, it's hard to say that's really going to be helping you a lot. You go, look, the meditation's still good to do, better than not doing it. But then you've got all these other things you're doing, working against yourself. Now, I'm not saying you just automatically going to drop everything. Actually, a lot of the time it's a natural process that happens. But you want to have the attitude already saying, you know what, I want to be a better version of myself. We can be a lot of different versions of ourselves. We can be the worst version of ourselves. How bad can we get? Pretty bad. All the terrible people in life who have done terrible things against people, we have the potential of that. I'm not saying we're going to do it, but we have the potential. We may not get to that low level, but we can go the other side too. We can get up to the higher level ourselves. Who even knows what that really looks like, the highest potential of ourselves, because we can always get better. And we don't have to do that by ourselves. And this is the whole point, is that the more we focus, the more we spend time in looking and seeking to improve ourselves, to surrender our personal ego up to our higher mind, to seek that highest state of mind, Buddha mind, Krishna mind, Christ mind. It doesn't matter what the names are. It's about the idea of saying, you know what, I choose this. I want to live in a higher aspect of mind. And it's a great way to be, I think, on this planet, because it's very deceptive, this planet. There are a lot of so-called goodies here that, again, we want to satisfy ourselves. So we'll go, get this thing or try and get that thing and do all these things. People get themselves in all trouble all the time doing that, sometimes even illegal activities to try to satisfy these things. And that's not really a great way to be. Plus, nothing lasts. All these things are passing. So what's the point? Pointless. So why not make that choice to say, I want to live in a higher aspect of my mind. I want to be a better version of myself. Pick a higher ideal of who I could be. And that can happen in fitness, okay, too. All these things, okay, we can work on our body. It doesn't have to be overboard. If you do no exercise now, maybe just go for a walk halfway up the block. Maybe to the letterbox. Maybe around. Actually, I do remember many years ago, there was a woman who was quite overweight, and she started just walking around her washing line I can't remember, and she just kept doing it daily. And I don't remember the details. I'm sure she changed her diet somewhat too. And look, it's little changes. We don't have to go for big. Just a small change is actually very significant. A small, and we just got to pick things though that are going to be easiest to hold on to and achieve. So anyway, I'm going to leave this video here because I'm starting to notice a bit of noise going on around me now. So again, I'm just going to reiterate what I was going on about family. So just look at where you're at in your life and don't allow conditioning to keep you held captive in a toxic aspect. And I'm just going to always encourage you to keep coming back into yourself, to just spend, all you need to do is sit there in silence and just keep your attention into the center of your head the best you can. That's it. Your mind will wander, bring your mind back. It's okay. That's going to happen a lot. Again, just what I was saying, the more we put in our head throughout the day, the more of that mental clutter we have to then get out of our heads. But the more you sit there, you'll find that it will eventually settle and go away, and it gets a lot better. So it may take a long time. You've just been junking up your mind with all sorts of crap for not just all day, but just most of your life, and you've never really meditated. When you sit there, you're going to have a lot of this mental junk and mental clutter, and you're going to think, I can't meditate. No, you're doing the correct thing. Sit there and just try to keep your mind centered, or your attention centered in your mind, should I say, into the center and nucleus of your mind. Keep your attention there. Don't think you need to be doing anything more than that. And just as your attention wanders and gets caught up in all the stories and nonsense of the day, all these thoughts and that, as soon as you realize you've done it, just bring your attention back. That's the practice, and that's all you have to do. And as time goes on, you'll see the merit in doing this. And when you're in the storm of life, this is even a greater thing to do. And I can talk about that more, but I'll leave this here because it is getting noisy. Been trying to find somewhere to go all day. There's been people everywhere, and I think it's the school holidays actually. And I live in a very touristy type of region, so it's very hard to find a place to go. But look, I wish you all a really great day. Again, I'm always sending you love. Feel that love in your heart. Just focus on love in your heart. I'll come back. I want to do some videos and tell you some things I do. And just seek joy. And the joy comes from within. Forget about all these things that you need to be getting at. Take the pressure off yourself. Take the stress off yourself. So you know what? It's fine where I am. I'm just going to make sure that my body, my mind, my soul is as best it can be, even in the conditions that aren't maybe perfect now. Even if you, needing, and there's a lot of people living in their other cars right now. Even if that, I know it's not perfect. This is why we need to look and find that within ourselves, and you will. Okay, nothing lasts. Nothing stays, things always change, and things can and do improve in people's lives. There's always cycles in life, so don't lose hope. I wish you all a really great day.